Hey, Internet. Welcome to, I think today's Sunday. I'm not really sure. I've been holed up in my apartment because I got a whole lot of ideas, which sometimes is a problem. Maybe it's a problem most of the time. In any case, as we've sort of been playing around with this project, with the idea of developing a channel, developing potentially a community around sort of the first stages of learning to code, um, I thought it might be useful to discuss sort of certain thoughts or theses, and why this project may in some ways be different than things like Free Code Camp, um, or the other resources that I've mentioned in previous videos. So uh, another thing, just like at some point, we may do things like affiliate marketing or product placement or whatever, but it just so happens that I have an Apple computer. I'm not saying that you individually should get an Apple computer. I think it's a good machine for my needs, but everyone's needs may be slightly different. So also I'll be sharing the screencast of what we're doing, so you'll be able to see what's on my computer. We're just sort of again playing around with the different ways in which we might present video content, audio content, visual content, code snippets. Because ideally, the sort of the challenge about learning to code is there's no one right way to do it, but sometimes it can be really frustrating if you haven't found a way that sort of seems to work for you. So let's get started and jump right in. You see the jump? Yeah, that maybe I'll edit that so it's like way more dramatic, but a few thoughts and pending theses around the project as this stands now. Again, sort of in its nascent stages. Side note, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments. If not, I should get a lot of comments about how I talk with my hands. It's a very handy habit, or maybe really distracting, but again, I'm not a professional spokesperson, so I don't know how to present myself in front of the video. But anyway, let's jump into some of the thoughts and theses around what this project seems to be becoming. And I'd love, again, to get your feedback on it. We would love to get your feedback on it. So the first kind of thing is we're sort of thinking about the sort of different mediums or modes in which we can communicate information. And one of the ideas is PowerPoints or like Google Slides. And having went to a program or school where, like a business school, not MBA, but undergrad, I personally think that PowerPoints suck. Like, it's basically there's a lack of creativity, and there's sort of this sort of normalization around teaching methods, and I think just regurgitating stuff on PowerPoints is a really terrible way to learn and to teach. So we'll try not to do that. However, in sort of the nascent stages of the project, we may choose to record information on a PowerPoint, so that you have something to look at other than my unshaven face. That being said, we want some visual effects with this PowerPoint, and so we're basically going to say, like, we know that PowerPoints are an imperfect form of an imperfect medium for us to communicate information, but for now we're just going to say screw it. It's sort of the thesis that then comes out of that is that essentially this style, or sort of this form that we're developing, and sort of the attitude that we're trying to think about bringing to the project, it might not be a good fit for everyone, and we apologize, actually sincerely apologize if that offends you, and we're sort of trying to work on the thesis that it's better to strongly appeal to a few people, and potentially their learning needs, than try to like mildly appeal to a broad swath of people. This is kind of like classic YC 101, YC being Y Combinator. It's better to be loved, or like intensely loved by a small number of people than sort of more broadly liked or tolerated by a greater number, at least in the initial stage of a project. So I'm not saying that our project is like YC material. Again, I sort of have mixed feelings about external funding. I just like want to help explore the process of learning to code and what that means for me, what that means for my co-founder, what that means sort of for different people around the world, because I think it's an interesting sort of meta question, and the meta question is like, what does it mean to learn? But what does it mean to learn to code? I think is sort of an individual specific question, but also I think there are some sort of interesting like cultural elements, being where you grew up, and some demographic elements of like what kind of family you grew up in, or where you went to school, and this different kind of things. So I just like find this a really fascinating space to sort of dig my teeth in and sort of start thinking about it. So we're gonna kind of do that. Again, like if this offends you, you can stop watching the video. There's so many problems with what we're trying to do and the way in which sort of we're approaching it that I don't expect this to appeal to everyone. And I would be surprised if it appeals to a lot of people. But we're just trying to find a way to find some people that can give us feedback and we can make it better. So for those of you who don't like this and don't like this approach, you can go elsewhere. Furthermore, we're far from perfect. Like, I as a human am super flawed. I'm flawed as if we look at gender, like as a male I'm probably flawed, as a human I'm probably flawed, as a student I'm flawed, as a teacher I'm flawed. There's just so many flaws. How do I do it? Some people are flawless. I'm flaw more. So rather than like a philosopher, I'm like a floss-of-more. Okay, that was really bad. But sort of humor aside, sort of I think one of the really interesting things, at least for me, about this project is that the point of the project and as I was saying, the point of the project is not to be perfect. In fact, that was really great timing. Saved by the bell, saved by the clock, the alarm. I have to go to spin, or I'm choosing to go to spin to, get some sweat equity, meaning a good workout in. And this video is obviously taking way longer than I thought it would. What a surprise. So the point is that we're imperfect, that this project is imperfect, that it's a work in progress. Just like, let's just layer on some cliches, but it's not supposed to be ideal because we don't actually know what we're doing. Like, that's full admission. We just want to do something, and like we think this is a cool space to do it in. And we think we have something to offer. We have something to offer today, and we're gonna have something like really cool to offer tomorrow, the metaphorical tomorrow. So like if you're interested in sort of this thesis and as the sort of watching or participating in the process of us figuring it out as a community, as a group, feel free to stick around. And I'm trying not to read from the slides. It's very tempting because I made these slides and I think they're both great and terrible. But you can stick around, and there's sort of the broad overarching theme is like, this is an interesting space to be in. There's some really cool questions that we can think about, and it's sort of like this collective intelligence and the combination of individual effort, we can make something great. Wait for it. Together. Oh, that was so cute. Oh yeah, whoever made that slide, that was A for effort. So anyway, that's all for now. We're gonna, I think the next video we're gonna try to tackle in the next few days is gonna be something a little more technical. By a little more technical, I mean we'll actually try to do something in JavaScript. Very basic, but again, we're sort of like exploring this whole like really exciting space of code and learning, and learning code, what I call LTC, learning to code. Anyway, so if you're interested in coming back and checking out additional videos, or checking out our website once we have a website, or following us on Twitter and Instagram, like I'm just going to start plugging in social channels, which the social channels exist, we just don't have, things in any of these social channels. I'm not saying that we're antisocial. I'm just saying that there's like so much shit to do, including figuring out what the purpose of the project is, that we haven't really got to like optimizing our social strategy. But again, feel free to leave comments about how we can optimize your social strategy, or really anything else you want. I do really appreciate those of you that are leaving comments, and I look forward to those of you who might start. So actually, the fact of those of you starting to leave comments is what I look forward to. Okay, getting a little embarrassed. I just want to say a big thanks. Actually, that looks like a little thanks, technically. God, man, size matters. And now I'm making inappropriate jokes on the internet about size. Yeah, that was uncalled for. But, as Carly something said, call me later, call me maybe, I don't know. I have to go to spin because I'm not late for class. I'm late for spin class, which is totally different. But I do want my spot, so I'm gonna bounce and hope to see you again soon. Cheers.